This is way better than we thought as Thunder fans. And the 4 more years I'm talking about today isn't a call for a U.S. president's reelection, but instead the Canadian MVP committing to the city for a lower price tag than he was entitled to demand. We're going to go over how the biggest contract in NBA history was signed this morning, how it locks the MVP in town through the rest of the decade, keeps the core in place for the foreseeable future, and how it is a good deal for the Thunder in the long run. But before we get into that, Gabriel Ebersole here with Thunder Digest, where we already dropped 2 videos today. But you wouldn't know that if you weren't subscribed. Like 68% of you guys watching, for some reason. We are bringing you guys free agency, signings, trades, injuries, all of the above, all in one place for all of the offseason and beyond. You guys need to stay up to date, and we have got you. Make sure you sub up and hit that bell to stay notified. Without any further ado, we're going to break down this Shai Gilgeous-Alexander contract. This man inked an extension this morning that for 4 years that will keep him in town through the rest of the decade. Fresh off of a championship, fresh off an MVP, fresh off a finals MVP, this guy has committed to the city, committed to staying put, and committed to making his home, his name, his legacy here as a player on the Oklahoma City Thunder. As a Thunder fan, obviously, I could not be more ecstatic that he is here for the long run, for the long haul, and I just one am grateful that he chose to do this and get this done quickly because we saw very early, and we're going to talk later about the fact that he could have signed a bigger deal next year, right? But instead, he chose this morning, per Shams, breaking NBA MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has agreed to a 4 year, $285 million super maximum contract extension with the championship Oklahoma City Thunder through 2030-31. Sources tell ESPN. This is now the richest annual salary, for a player in league history. So, yes, we saw it right there in the last sentence. The richest contract in league history. The first player to make over 70 million in a season will be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander a couple years down the line. But for now, he is locked into the deal he has finishing out those 2 years before this extension kicks in. And that's where the 2030 to 31 comes into play. 6 more years in an Oklahoma City Thunder uniform for the reigning MVP. He is a 3 time All NBA selection. This guy obviously is one of the best players in the league, the faces of the league, and he will now be the face of the franchise for the foreseeable future. Great, great news for us. Now, keep looking. This guy, he could have signed a bigger deal if he had waited a year. This guy was eligible for a 5 year, $380 million contract extension next summer, per Bobby Marks. This came earlier this year after he won the MVP, after he was All NBA for the third season in a row, making the first team all 3 seasons. This guy, obviously, one of the best basketball players in the league, entitled to demanding one of the best contracts in the league. We just gave him what is right now the biggest paid contract in the league. But I want to remind you guys of a couple things. One, this bar gets reset very often. It's not quite to the NFL level where every single week in the offseason a new quarterback signs the richest deal in NFL history. It's not quite to that level, but there was a time where Mike Conley was the highest paid player in basketball for a few stretches. I just want to remind you guys of that as well. So getting a guy we know is the MVP of the league, inking him to this deal and keeping him here in Oklahoma City, this is a privilege to have a guy like this on the roster for the next 6 seasons. It is a privilege to be able to offer him this contract and to keep building around him. We have a centerpiece moving forward for over a half decade plus from now into the 2030s. And yes, it's a lot of money at face value, but another big thing about this, right? We see that the salary cap is set to increase every single year. It's projected around by 10%. Next year, it'll be going up to 154 million from the 140 million that it's at currently. And then you see the projections from then up to 170 in 26-27, up to 187 in 27-28, up to 205 in 28-29, and then up to 226 and a half by the year of 29-2030. So, yes, we're giving this guy a big portion of the contract. 35% of the salary cap is what the Supermax was that he signed. And the dollar amount is going to go up, but it's the same percent of the cap. Building around this guy for the foreseeable future is the plan moving forward. And he's a two-way player. He's not it's like he's a liability on defense. And he's obviously one of the best, if not the best, scorers slash offensive players in the league at the moment. And you see he's 26 years old. This isn't something that's going to change overnight. He's going to be in his prime throughout the duration of this extension. This was a great contract for both sides, realistically. And another big thing that I want to note with this contract, SGA got an extra 12 million in his pocket based on the fact that back in February 20th of 2025, so a couple months ago, he dropped his agent. So this was an indicator that he was going to sign this deal because it saved him 12 million in agent fees. The standard agent fee in the NBA is 4% of any contract you sign, for those of you who do not know. But this 4% pockets him an extra 12 million and that he wouldn't have had if he had used an agent to negotiate this contract. And this was a very smart move because what negotiation tools is your agent going to walk in there and give? All you have to do is walk in there. You don't even have to say any words. Just slap your resume on the table. You can bring your Finals MVP trophy in there. Just throw that on the table, and you know that they're giving you the supermax, and they're offering it to you if that's what you intend on signing. And it is what Shea intended on signing. He didn't wait the extra year to get an extra about 6 million annually, but he put an extra 12 million in his pocket that won't affect the team by doing this. So that was another very smart tool that he used to leverage more money without hurting the team, without putting us more into a bind in what we can spend. And this was a very selfless move for him to commit to our team. But let's take a look at this contract more breaking down. When this extension kicks in the year of 2027-28, it'll be for 63.5 million. It'll go up to 68.6 million the year after that in 2028-29, and then in 29-30, it'll be the first year someone ever makes 70 million, and it'll be well above that at 73.7 million. That is an astounding salary he's making right there. And yes, at face value, that is a lot of money that we're spending. I don't want to get twisted. I mean, I couldn't even imagine what I would do with 5% of that money. You couldn't either, I'm sure, watching this. But nonetheless, this guy, for what he's delivered to the city, one, he's earned this contract, and two, he's going to be in his prime at this time still. That's what needs to be noted is that this isn't like we're signing someone down the road and this is a risk. This guy's only 26 at the time. He'll be about 30 years old at the time of this season, 30, 31, and he will still be the same player we know right now, averaging into the 30s, playing great defense and leading a team. And then the final season of his contract, 2030-31, 78.7 million, totaling up to $285 million. Yes, a lot of money. We know this. However, when we saw the other extension, the 5-year, 380 million, it would be an average salary of 76 per year. So he is leaving more money on the table than he would have been able to demand. The same contract would have kicked in. He would have had an extra season of making that money. This sets him up to maybe be able to revamp his contract based on the team needs a year earlier. If we need to bring someone else in, he can take a pay cut to bring someone else in if the roster does end up depleting. But by taking this cut, by doing this and cutting out his agent out of the process to pocket more money and making all these selfless moves, this points to the idea that he wants to sign Chet and J Dub both back because these guys are both due for $247 million if they sign Max's rookie extensions, and they were eligible as of today. That's when they became eligible for these extensions. And we saw J Dub had the hand surgery yesterday. If you didn't see it, that means you're not subscribed to the channel because Bryson dropped a banger video on that yesterday, and you need to check it out regardless. Without that though, you see a guy who hands down deserves that, and he played the whole playoffs like that. He dropped 40 in the finals with a torn ligament in his wrist on his shooting hand. So this is a guy who is going to be easily deserving of a max rookie extension if he wishes to. He was number two on a championship team. Chet, on the other hand, a guy who he's had some health issues in the past, so that may be the only reason you could argue he doesn't deserve a max is health concerns. But when he's on the court, man, he produces. He produced at a great level. He had the most blocks in a game seven of the NBA Finals since blocks were recorded back in 1971. This was a guy who anchored our defense, who was a number three option on the championship team, and is taking leaps and bounds by the year. This guy has great room to improve in his offensive game. He already can stretch the floor out, but I still feel like Chet has the most room to grow out of these three guys. He also is very deserving of a max extension. This contract signed by Shea points to the fact that these guys may be in line to take a little bit less money here, a little bit less money there by the year, And these millions are going to add up in keeping the role players around them, keeping the whole team strong, keeping the depth that we saw this year intact to continue winning championships. This is points to that. And I believe that them not signing the extensions today when they were eligible also points to the fact that maybe they're thinking about how they can get this done to keep the team strong and deep. I think that that needs to be noted, and then as well as the fact that we look at Shai's resume, you might be wondering how he even got in line to demand as much money as he did. Taking a look at this guy's resume, he one meets the loyalty requirements that you need to even be able to be eligible for this 35% of the cap rule, right? He got traded his first year in the league after being on the Clippers to the Thunder, and he's going into his seventh year of service in the NBA, which gave him the eligibility to sign this. He wants to be a Thunder for life, it looks like, right? And if we keep the team around him, we are capable of keeping him the rest of his career besides his rookie season. And I would be happy to have him the whole time. This guy's a humble guy. He plays for the team, and he is a leader through and through. He keeps the locker room engaged, and you would just see by the way the other guys interact with him, they love him as well. And then also looking at his resume, of course, all NBA first team the last 3 years, the finals MVP, as well as the regular season MVP this year, even won the Western Conference Finals MVP. A clean sweep through the year for the man, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He deserves every cent of the contract, and he had every right to demand a supermax. By still not taking the maximum amount of money that he could have had if he had waited another year, and then obviously by doing that, he would have had another year of making in the 70s guaranteed in his pocket. He left that on the table for, as well as a couple other millions per year, a little bit there, a little bit here, to keep the team deep. This was a guy who made the situation a lot better for the Thunder than we could have expected, because almost any other guy in this dude's shoes would have signed for every cent that they possibly could have. This points towards keeping the team together, keeping the core together in the long run. Those guys not signing their extensions today points to the fact that they want to stay here in the long run and find a way to keep the big three together long term. Shai himself is guaranteed to be a Thunder through the rest of the decade. He's untradeable, obviously, unless something absurd falls through, which we're not even going to think about this time coming off of the season he just had, right? But he is signed to be an Oklahoma City Thunder through the rest of the 2020s. As fans, we can't ask for more than that, and yet he gave us more by giving us a couple extra millions in the bank to spend on the team to stay under. We're not going to stay under the cap realistically, but to stay under the second apron and just keep a solid, deep team around that can continue gunning for championships. This has been Gabriel Ebersole with Thunder Digest, where you guys can help us hit our goal of 6K. If all of you watching this right now hit the sub button, we can hit 6K in the next hour. So help us do that, and we'll help keep you posted with more stuff going on this offseason. And we're going to catch you guys in the next one.